Why would I make them so uncomfortable?
It probably has to do with your reputation. They feel your methods, your theories are...
Spooky? Do you think I'm spooky?
His face was so blank and expressionless. He didn't even seem human.
I'm not turning my back on anyone!
Have you ever found a metal implant in your body? You checked everywhere?
Mulder, you have to understand!
Put it down!
You put it down first!
Scully!
Do you hear what I hear? Doggett's lost in Mexico. He sure is.
True. Truly is this festive episode.
A festive Mulder, yes.
Hi, everybody.
Hello!
Welcome to a brand new episode of Fox Mulder is a Maniac.
Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, 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 indeed. I'm one of your hosts, David Bell.
I'm another of your ho-ho hosts, Tom Ryman.
And, you know, we're putting this out free for all because it's that time of the year.
It is.
The time of giving. You're welcome.
It's the time of year when Mulder lures you into a mansion for a little murder-suicide.
Exactly. Just a light
Just
MS.
a light murder-suicide. Of course, what was that, season 4?
Yeah, nudged on by two Canadian
Ed Asner
ghosts.
And it was Lily Tomlin. That's right.
Yeah. That's an episode.
I wish we should just cover that episode instead, Dave. Let's just throw it out. Throw out the episode we had planned. We're covering the Ed Asner Christmas murder-suicide Lily Tomlin episode.
This one is good, too. It's just a little less festive.
It depends on how you keep the holiday.
Right, that's fair. But listen, folks, if you want to hear the rest of these episodes, you go to patreon.com/gamefully unemployed, GAMEFULLY, unemployed, and you can get every goddamn Fox Mulder is a Maniac episode all the way up to season 9, which is what we're at. We're 3 seasons away, which sounds like a lot, except the last 2 seasons are
only
10
about 8 or 10
each.
episodes, right? So, realize...
We're like 2 episodes.
Realize, folks, that we have about only 30 episodes left of Fox Mulder is a Maniac.
I know. It's so sad.
No.
That's still like a year.
It's still like a year. It's still about a year, but we're winding down, and you might be wondering, what are we going to do next? Well, we already know, and it's going to be fun, but there's still plenty of Mulder left. So
there's plenty of Mulder left. And right now we're at season 9, episode 7, which is called John Doe.
John Doggett.
John Doggett.
He's investing in crypto.
I never saw this episode. This is the first time I ever saw it. It is written by Vince Gilligan.
It is.
Yep. It is his first solo episode of the 9th season. He apparently really liked the idea of a memory vampire, and he'd been trying to work on it for a while.
That's what this guy is. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This episode features a Mexican hotel, that was once Mulder's apartment. That set. You can't tell at all, because it's completely redressed.
Oh, yeah, I never would have been able to tell. Oh, man, I thought I was going to peg it, instantly, too.
Right. It's only a few shots. That's the other thing. They don't shoot it in a wide, really.
They probably were scared, right? It's a set that they know
they
we're all familiar with. Yeah,
notice.
they're not going to show too much of it.
Yeah. A few things in this. One, the DP, Bill Rowe, who does, I think,
most of these.
All of, yeah. He was inspired by a movie. Can you guess which movie? It's the movie Traffic, Tom.
Okay. I was legitimately trying to think. I was like, okay, when did it come out? What does it kind of look? It does. It's very Traffic, isn't it?
It's very Traffic. It's washed out. It's that stereotype that Mexico is yellow. It's just washed out and yellow all the time.
Yeah, this one doesn't do it. This episode doesn't do it nearly as egregiously as the meme, but yeah, for sure.
The only other thing I note is this episode has a bus crash in it. And I just thought it was very funny is that it didn't seem like it's not that elaborate of a crash. And apparently, and I thought they did a good job with this, honestly. They actually they used 9 cameras they undercranked them, meaning that they basically shot it faster than it was actually going. They sped it up.
Yeah, it's an old trick that people.
It's an old trip. Vince Gilligan said, quote, "You could have stood there and had a sandwich while the thing was backing up. It was so slow." But I gotta say, it looks good because the dust doesn't look like it was sped up. And I wonder if they added dust post-production or something.
You never would have been able to tell. It's a good effect.
No.
I never would have guessed that they sped up the footage. It looks just like a normal bus. It's not a spectacular crash. It's kind of the point of it. They're escaping in this bus and it just kind of goes backwards real fast and tips over on its side. It's very anticlimactic, but
yeah, they do a bad job at escaping.
You do sort of forget that it's still like whatever, like a 4-ton bus, and you can't just like whip that out and roll it over while there's 100 people around filming an episode. Like you have to treat that very seriously, even though it doesn't look like it's really that big of a stunt in the episode.
I read the trivia before I watched it, and I expected something amazing, and I was like, oh, well, that's nothing.
Yeah, it really looks like nothing, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice reminder. Like, I remember one of the first time something blew my mind in film school was a teacher pointing out, when we were doing set design and stuff, he'd show a scene that was on a set, and someone like turns on a sink, and they're like, "Do you realize how hard that is to do?" Like there's no plumbing, so like they'd have to put a hose into the set from some other plumbing fixture, and then have a grip like turn it on at the exact same time, and they have to time it right, and you forget things like that where it's like little things. Like, I think when he's, like, in this, when he's at Mulder's apartment, if he turned on that sink, it would have been an elaborate effect, because that's probably just a set. I don't know. It's I don't know.
Yeah,
movies are fun.
Movie magic.
Movie magic. What'd you think of this episode? I mentioned I hadn't seen it before. I assume you hadn't either?
No, I hadn't seen this. Man, I thought this episode was laughably bad.
All right. I like the concept, although it would have been funnier to be done to Mulder.
This is such a Mulder, but actually, I disagree that it's funnier. It's funnier that it's Doggett. Because of our segment. We're gonna get to that segment, and just in lieu of everything that's happened to him this season, just this is one more thing to throw on the pile.
Throw on the misery pile of Doggett.
But yeah,
it's not great.
It's bad. I just think it's bad. It's silly.
This kind of belongs in World Luckiest Detective, but here's what I'll say. The concept of a memory vampire, I was like, that's a neat idea. The fact that it's a cartel is very funny to me. Also, everybody knows about it in the town. So not only is it about a memory vampire, but a memory vampire who's doing a bad job. Because he literally erases memories and everybody knows. Like, they talk to a guy and he's like, yeah, that cartel, if you mess with them, they'll do weird things to your mind. And it's like, isn't the point of having a memory vampire that no one knows? Like, way too many people know about the memory vampire.
Right, he's not doing it right.
No, he's a bad memory vampire.
He's really not taking advantage of the first part of that two-word phrase.
Yeah, and it really does just sort of go nowhere. Like, once you realize that the memory vampire, all he can really do is grab your head and take your memories, that's it. That's all he does.
Well, I mean,
and he's not formidable. Like, you can just shoot that man.
The astonishing thing is the memory vampire takes Doggett's memory because he's down there investigating somebody that disappeared who they also memory vampired, throws him in prison. He doesn't remember who he is. This local gangster sees Doggett, likes the cut of his jib, boosts him out of jail by buying him, essentially, buys him.
Right.
And then gets Doggett to come work for him in exchange for him buying his freedom, and just has Doggett fix up a bus. So it's so ultimately what it is you abducted an FBI agent and wiped his memory and threw him in prison so that a street level gangster could bring him out of jail to get him to work on cars.
That's the episode.
That's
for
the
people
episode.
Who are wondering.
That's the episode.
Yeah, Doggett wakes up with no memory in Mexico, which we'll talk about. And you'd think like, oh, that's going to go somewhere really exciting. It felt like they didn't. It's also like they didn't shoot this in Mexico. I'm sure you know that. And you can sort of tell because they don't. He's just like mostly in a barn fixing a bus.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, this is boring.
Just fixing a bus.
Yeah, and again, the memory
is
vampire.
the bus for anything? I don't know. We never know what the bus is for. It's not like building to anything.
They really could have. This could have been a monster of the week that was memorable. I'm reminded of, and this isn't a spoiler, but Gen V, the boys spinoff, has a character named Rufus. Tom, can you guess what his power is?
No.
He makes you forget things. Rufus, get it? He's like a scummy college kid who basically his power is the ability to roofie people.
I get it.
Yep. The idea, though, is anytime like someone grabs him and then suddenly he's in a Burger King and doesn't know what he was doing. So that's the idea. His power is if you touch him, bam, like it's done. You know, like you've forgotten that you were even mad at him and you're somewhere else. And they could have done that, right? This idea that it's like this memory vampire, and every time he gets confronted, he just goes, "Man,
right.
I'm not caught."
Yeah, you end
but
up
they don't do
naked
that.
at Busch Gardens or something. Like,
Yeah,
how the hell did I get here?
Spoilers: they just arrest him at the end.
Yeah, and he just gives it up. He just they have no evidence on him. And he just says he gives it away at the end. He's just like, I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling Doggett.
Right, and it's like you could have gotten away with it if you just said, "No, I'm not."
Oh, he probably will still get
do?
away with it, because what are they going to say? Like he's just like, I don't know why you want to remember your memories. Your memories suck.
Right, and he is also in Mexico, so it's like I feel like the Mexican government has to get involved. There has to be evidence.
Well, I mean,
I guess
he did abduct a federal agent, so they're going to get this guy in prison for. I don't know if they're going to get him in prison for being a memory vampire.
I was going to say this is when Mulder would have really fucked it up.
Yeah, this is when he would have tombed the whole situation.
Yeah, exactly. You just have to say like, "Oh yeah, he drugged them somehow," and I'm sure that's what they will say. Mulder would he would insist that the judge be convinced.
No, it's through his fingers. He uses his fingertips, his memory fingies, to steal people's thoughts, Judge, and he's sitting right there.
Do your fingy thing.
Do your memory fingies.
Sadly, Mulder is not in this. I don't know, since this is a free episode, we're in the season where Mulder's gone.
He's gone for most of it.
It's very sad.
He's gone for most of it.
He'll be back for the end. But we have plenty of things to do, starting with World's Luckiest Detective.
That's true. I just realized we're making a free episode that Mulder's not in.
Yeah, but this is more, I mean, this is one where it's like, a lot of the times we'll do a free episode where we're like, oh, this is a big episode, we got to do it. And I'll argue the next free episode we'll probably do is I think the series finale is 2 episodes, so naturally we should do the first of the 2, right?
I think we do the first of the 2. I think we do Jump the Shark, too.
Yeah. There's also the X-Files, the second X-Files movie, and we'll get at least 2 episodes out of that.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
So there'll be some...
There's still some more free episodes in the future.
For sure. But, it's the holidays, folks.
Yeah, it's the spirit of giving. So here's this weird Mulder-less X-Files episode. Merry Christmas. Here's some socks.
Here's some fucking socks.
Here's a fucking GoBot.
World's Luckiest Detective, it's when they luck out. This usually was applied to Mulder. It's now, I would say, applied to Doggett in this one. Because I gotta say, Doggett wakes up in Mexico in jail with no memory. A very bad place, right? It does take extraordinary luck for him to get out of this. In the form of most people just helping him. Like, he wakes up in this jail, and there's a guy there who's like, hey, I speak English. Let me help you out. And he just helps him.
He runs afoul of the most helpful gangster.
Mm-hmm. The helpful gangster who happens to also know the guy who did this to him.
Right, he happens to be directly involved in the conspiracy as well.
Yeah.
So that's pretty lucky.
Extremely helpful.
That's pretty lucky.
Because otherwise, I'm pretty sure Doggett would have just spent the rest of his life in a Mexican prison.
Anonymously in that prison. Like, they keep bringing up the Desaparecidos, which is, I believe, a real thing. Right. But I had thought it was referring more to people who were like disappeared by, I'm not sure, in prisons and such by like the government. But I guess that's exactly what's going on here. It's crooked cops and cartels and stuff. But it's so funny that they took what is apparently a real thing, and it's just like, it's vampires.
Yeah. Had this guy not been here, Doggett's gravestone would have been a beer bottle.
Right. He would have just been one of the many people who tragically die anonymously while being trafficked. Like, he would have just been...
Exactly. That would have been...
He would have fallen through those cracks, and that would have been it.
And as we pointed out, the cartel is very bad, so people know about the memory vampire. He's also still in that town. Like, there's a lot of coincidences here. Like, I feel like
it's not even that he's still in the town. It's like they're on the same Wild West street. Like, we only see one street of this town in Mexico.
And everybody's on it. His first lead is this guy who stole his shoes, who's still there, too. He just
directly outside the prison, I think.
Yeah, he just finds him.
Yeah, he's just right there.
Yeah, so Doggett is very lucky. Also, I'd say it's lucky he has any sort of identifying tattoo, because otherwise he is the most generic-looking man ever.
They even make a point of it. Like, the helpful gangster comes in when he's trying to get Doggett to forget the whole memory thing and just help him fix buses for the rest of his life. He's like, hey, this wanted poster matches your description exactly. This guy's wanted for double murder. And the thing is he's not lying. It does match his description exactly.
It does.
Because Doggett looks like every white dude.
Yeah. I don't know. White guy, brown hair, short hair, about in his 40s.
5'10", 5'11".
Like, oh, you don't say.
Dark hair.
Jesus fucking Christ.
That's
even
every
the
white
tattoo
dude.
on the arm, it's like, yeah. So he's lucky. He's lucky that Reyes was apparently raised in Mexico,
although
she knows how to navigate the country.
She speaks Spanish with an American accent.
She sure does. We'll talk about her. But like, it's lucky
this
that
episode is
people
just
give a shit.
Very funny and from every angle.
Yeah. Also, the memory monster didn't kill Doggett. He says like, I wasn't ordered to kill him, and it's like, why not?
Well, what's the doubly lucky thing with that is not only was he not ordered to kill him, but there are certain people. It's the Mulder thing, right? There are certain people it's more dangerous to kill than leave alive, and it's like. So he was too dangerous to kill, but it's not dangerous to leave him alive working on a bus?
Yeah. What's going on here?
He might remember he's a federal agent at any moment. Yeah. That's less risky than burying him underneath a Coke bottle in the middle of the desert.
Yeah. It's really weird. Also, that's the big lucky thing. Doggett
with
just
the Beatles to
again?
minister his passing? Yeah, he just kind of he remembers his trauma. Which we'll talk about. Like, it's funny for this. It's like the one piece of like, oh, okay, like he actually tried to like write a narrative there because like that's like, oh, that's like he's actually trying to say something. But the rest of this episode is just like desperately grasping for any kind of anything.
But he's like the Harry Potter of this memory vampire. Like it works on everybody else, and then Doggett, he's just like, nah, I got my memory.
He just gets his memory back. Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah. To the point, also, Harry Potter, he has cuts on foreheads, which Reyes figures out somehow by seeing one corpse with those cuts.
Well, it's another aspect of them being incredibly lucky is Reyes just gets visions and psychic messages sometimes.
Yes. Yeah. She just knows things.
She just knows things when the episode needs her to know things.
Yeah. So, like, everything is handed to Doggett, basically. He starts in the worst possible place and gets a bunch of leads of people just offering help and information.
The best way to sum up World's Luckiest Detective for this episode is the episode begins with Doggett waking up in Mexico in a town that I had never heard of. And, like, the helpful gangster makes a point of it. Like, he points out, like, look, you're down here. You're not in Tijuana. You're not in Mexico City. You're in this place, which is a place people like you do not come. Like, it's a place most people have never heard of. So the fact that you're here means that you're probably running from something serious. So the point is he wakes up with no memory in a place where it is unlikely anyone will find him. And he finds his way out 13 days later.
Yeah. Well, I would say he doesn't find his way out. He is shown his way out.
Right, but he is rescued and has fully regained his memory and is back with his friends at the FBI 13 days later.
Yes, it's wild. It's incredibly lucky.
That would be like Bane throwing Batman into the pit prison and him just bouncing right back out like flubber.
Yeah, exactly. It ends with him having a shootout and Skinner just swoops in to save him.
Yeah, just saves him.
At just the right time.
He swoops in with a detachment of, I guess, like a Mexican SWAT team or something.
Yeah.
But they were like, they were so much scarier than the cartel guys.
I know. The cartel in this is, like, if I were a member of the cartel and I watched this episode, I'd be like, hey, this is insulting. We're better than this. Like, they have a memory vampire.
No.
And somehow people know about
That's
it.
a big
like,
advantage.
It's the
That's a
worst
big
cartel.
advantage.
It's the biggest waste of a memory vampire ever.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
You started on third base.
Yeah. Jesus fucking Christ. How did you screw this up?
Vampire.
Yeah. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it's madness.
Yeah. Should we get into our next segment?
We should.
All right.
Folks,
who are we even?
I don't even know, man. This is normally where we dim the lights. We'd put on something nice, something that feels good against the skin. We draw the blinds, and we'd put on the Bigfoot video because it's time for some self-love and a little Mulder After Dark.
Ooh, yeah. Jerk it to that Bigfoot video.
Come into that sax.
Yep.
While making eye contact with Bigfoot.
Of course. I only have stuff on Reyes and Doggett.
Of course, I just wanted to say, this is, if for some reason you're catching, this is your first episode. This is normally where we talk about all the crazy shit Mulder did. But since he's not in this episode, we're talking about all the crazy shit everybody else did. And there is no shortage, so don't worry.
Yeah. Although I will say, the Doggett doesn't need this segment. Will be.
That's a meaty.
To me,
that's the meat of the burger right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a big ass patty in that sandwich. Yeah. That's sweet.
Doggett's a terrible liar. I just want to point that out. Where he takes it 30 seconds to come up with a fake name, and he has to like find a word.
Right. It's the Family Guy gag, where he's like,
it is
P chair Griffin, Peter Griffin.
Yeah. It's very funny how bad of a liar
he's
he
terrible
is.
at it.
I only had one other thing about Doggett. He moves like a spider in this. The guy, he sneaks from under a car to the roof of the car and jumps on the guy. And it was like, he moved like a mutant. Like he's the X-File.
Right, he's the T-1000.
And I just got to say, yeah, it was very spry of him. That's all. Do you have anything about Doggett? Because I really don't, obviously, until the next section.
Not really. The main thing was the calling card thing, because the fake name he selects winds up being good.
Right.
Because it's the name of a calling card, and it's the only reason we got that bit of dialogue about how Reyes was born and raised in Mexico, because she recognizes the name as the name of a local calling card. Those are two extraordinarily lucky things we should have mentioned before. That's true. I forgot about it until this moment. Yeah. But like right above it, there was something like Van Sant or something. It was like a pairing that looked like a person's name. And so it was like he's looking at a sign, and it's like on top is what's clearly looks like a person's name, and then the bottom, which is like a company name. So right. It's like going, I'm Detective Verizon. I'm Detective Coca-Cola, yeah. Yeah. You idiot, Doggett. Reyes, so the first thing she does is threaten a man in front of his lawyer. Yeah. She speaks in Spanish to a guy in front of his lawyer who can't speak Spanish. That feels illegal. She accuses him of being a smuggler in front of his lawyer. A human trafficker and murderer. And I'm not saying he's not that. I'm saying that you can't do that. Is he though? Because we never see him again. That's a good point. We never see him again. I guess because I think Doggett was there investigating him, and I'm guessing he sicked the memory vampire on him. I don't know. It's unclear what happened. Because we don't ever see the guy that Doggett went there looking for. There's no justice, ultimately, except the memory vampire. I'm not even sure what the case was. Right. No, not at all. I didn't actually have much for Reyes. I think it's weird that there's a scene that must have happened, which is that Reyes finds these cuts on a dead guy on his head.
and somehow that equates to her knowing that the memory vampire does that.
It has
like I was very
little
unclear
finger
because
fangs.
yeah, like Doggett has those cuts too, but they're like old scars and they're sort of under the scalp. He knows them earlier, but it ends with them sort of knowing like we know exactly how you do this, and I don't know how they figured that out. Reyes must have saw them on the corpse. Like, how did they figure out this guy's a fucking memory vampire? I assume Reyes did a real Mulder leap, right? Where she saw him on this other corpse and then decided, that must be how he sucks out their memory. It's weird that they never just assume he drugs people.
They sort of... What happens is Doggett gets his memory back when he remembers that his son is dead.
Yes.
And then... With that, he walks into the little cafe where the memory vampire has been sitting the whole time and basically just tells him, I remember everything. You gave me these.
Right.
And he points to the marks on his head.
He remembered having his memory taken away.
Yes.
Okay, that's fair.
I think
guess.
Reyes noticed the marks, but...
Okay, but they figured it out through
Right, they
that.
figured it out
okay.
because Doggett, just remembers when
He
they
just
when they
remembers.
need
That
him
makes
to.
sense.
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
I don't have much else. I have more for
The only
Doggett.
other thing I did have one more thing for Doggett, and that's just he hangs out in that garage with that man he's killed for quite a long time.
That's true.
There's just a dead guy in there. There's one of the guys, the helpful gangster's stick man, never trusts Doggett and then goes to try to kill him, and then Doggett kills him instead. He kills him twice as fast and twice as cool.
Yeah, that's true.
But then he's just hanging out with this dude's dead body. And then Helpful Gangster comes back and they have a confrontation. And Helpful Gangster knocks Doggett out and leaves him there. That's another lucky thing that we didn't cover.
That is very weird.
So
now
Doggett,
that you mentioned it,
Doggett wakes up I don't know how much time has passed. And he's still in the same barn with the same dead guy.
He
and
never leaves that barn.
And he's not really reacting to it. He never gets a good explanation as to who that guy was or why he came to kill him. Nobody ever tells him what happened with that guy. So he never understands who this dude was or why he wanted him dead. And it's just hanging out with his dead body all day.
It's a comedy of errors because he spends most of the episode in a barn.
Yeah.
Then Reyes shows up and is like, I'm your partner. And Doggett's like, okay. And he believes her. And then they're like, we got to get out of here. And they take the bus and they get, 30 feet in that bus?
Not far.
Before the bus crashes.
It was not a good game.
Who's driving?
Doggett, I think.
Okay. So yeah, he really just beefs it in this episode. He just sucks.
Right, he stands on the gas and they back right into a hill and the thing just rolls over. It's very anticlimactic.
There's this moment where he's like, we'll take the bus. And then, they crash and they're just going to sit there and die. And then Skinner just shows up to save them.
Yeah. We'll take the bus and rolls the bus. Well, I guess we're going to die now.
Yeah, that was really bad job. Terrible job,
It was pretty bad. Pretty bad.
Yeah.
Pretty bad.
Man, should we get into the meat?
I think so. I think we should sink our teeths into the meefs.
All right. Folks, this is John Doggett Doesn't Need This.
Lord,
right.
Is it? This.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain what this is? I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory.
It's what it is. John Doggett, as we've learned watching this new season with Doggett, Doggett's, he's one of the new main characters, him and Reyes. And what we've learned is that, I guess we should talk about his past. He was assigned to find Mulder. That was it. He's a old New York beat cop who became part of the FBI. He's a straight shooter, he calls it like he sees it. He'll accept the paranormal if he is confronted with it, but he's generally, he's like somewhat skeptic.
He's a very serious detective. He'll accept the supernatural if that's what the evidence says.
Right. The problem is late season X-Files. They don't have time to fuck around with that.
Don't.
They didn't see the like first season X-Files. Scully would always come in conveniently after the paranormal thing would happen. This season, they're like they have to one up themselves so much. It's season 9, so John Doggett basically started this job to find Mulder, he gets assigned the X-Files almost as punishment, and then proceeds to be just confronted with the paranormal every week. And when I say confronted, I mean pummeled by.
Let's tally it off. He was beaten and nearly drowned in a river by a Batman, like a man bat.
Yeah, man bat. He met a dead child. He met a ghost. Okay. To sum it up, he's died 3 times.
Right.
And when I say died, I mean he was shot in the stomach and eaten by a monster that then resurrected him
by vomiting him up. He vomited Doggett back to life. So canonically, Doggett was killed, eaten, and thrown back up to life. The vomit of life.
He was dragged in a vat of water and drowned, which technically doesn't mean he died, but he thought he died. He was drowned by a super soldier.
His heart stopped.
And he was brought back to life by the person who drowned him.
It just happened to be Lucy Lawless.
Yep. He was killed in another timeline where he was paralyzed, sat in a hospital bed for weeks, and then Mercy killed.
He begged Reyes for death.
He
begged for death, and it was mercifully granted. So Doggett has died 3 times.
The show seems obsessed with punishing Doggett.
He also discovered that his son was... he already knew his son was abducted and murdered. We discovered his son was abducted and murdered by a demon.
Yep. There's also this fact that he's not just abused heavily, but no one seems to care about his well-being.
You're right. He's like...
There was an episode where Scully just sent him to investigate a flesh-eating virus in the sewer and then forgot about him.
That's right. That episode's pretty great. It just... They treat him like a stunt man.
Yes, or like a rover. They treat him like he's a robot that they send.
Right, he's the canary. Yeah. Send him in there. Let him wharf his ass through there and see if he gets beat up.
Exactly. He is constantly in peril.
So,
and no one gives a shit. So you understand how funny it is that he would then wake up in Mexico with no memory, with a man stealing his shoes.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that happens. He wakes up and a man is stealing his shoes in a fucking in a warehouse. It's perfect.
And it escalates to he is a purchased. He's sold into slavery to work on a bus.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. He is put in jail for 8 days.
That's true.
A man steals his shoe. He runs after him with one shoe. Is immediately arrested, which is hilarious.
Oh yeah.
He's told that he must be some sort of horrible criminal because he's the only reason he'd be down here. So he has to assume at one point he's convinced he's a double murderer. Then he's in jail for 8 days. While in jail, he has dreams of a family that he is so excited to meet.
He keeps dreaming of his beautiful little boy, excitedly waking him up in bed.
Yep, that kid's definitely alive. I'm so happy.
He's clinging. It's clear he's clinging to this memory. It's his guiding light. It's the only scrap of humanity. It's the only scrap of himself he has, and it's this beautiful, idyllic life that he can't wait to get back through. It's his hope, his precious hope, Dave.
Yep. Then he gets out of jail, and a man says to him, "I own you like I own that car." He is put into slavery, but first he gets away. He realizes
he bullies the gangster into not making him do crimes for him.
Yep. But he gets away first, and then, after a day, realizes that his only prospect was
to work for the helpful gangster. Yeah.
Yeah. So he becomes a slave for a human trafficker in Mexico, who then uses him just to fix cars. So he spends most of the episode under a bus. And then my favorite part is then when we cut to the FBI and Reyes and Skinner go to Kirsch and they're like, John Doggett is somewhere in Mexico. We need to get him back. Kirsch says,
Kirsch says,
let's just hand it to. Yeah, he says no. He gives up after 12 days of Doggett missing. 12 days. Kirsch calls it, quote, a wasted effort. And then turns it over to the Mexican government, which is the funniest fucking thing to happen.
This is I think it's an oblique 9/11 reference, right? Because this is post 9/11 at this point, is it not?
Yes, it's been post 9/11.
Kirsch makes a reference to like, I can't pull that, because he says we have like 4 dozen agents looking for Doggett in the state of Texas.
Right.
He says I cannot pull 40 federal agents and send them into Mexico right now. He's like, not with the things the way they are. And I think that's a 9/11 reference.
I'm guessing
I think
because
Doggett is stuck because 9/11.
Right. This is probably the closest they got to mentioning 9/11 so far. Because a lot of this was shot.
I think they did like a since 9/11. I think they did.
I don't know, because a lot of this, like, I know a few episodes ago came out like right after 9/11. Like they had been shooting and writing before 9/11.
Right.
So, yeah, I think right now it's just what they're injecting things into it as much as they can. But it's so fucking funny. 12 days he's missing in Mexico, and Kirsch is just like,
nope. We're pretty sure we found him.
Right. They're also like, yeah, we think we know where he might be. He's in Mexico. He was looking after this guy. And Kirsch is just like, nah, it's not. It's too much work. So it really perfectly like encapsulates Doggett being horribly abused, and then everybody around him also just not caring enough. It's so perfect. Then he gets his ass handed to him in the garage. He gets beaten, like you said, and he's now just, he's enslaved. He got beaten up in a garage after, again, I can't stress enough, working on a bus is not fun, right? Like, it's just awful work.
Yeah.
In this, like,
no
garage.
idea who he is. This is just working on a bus. It's like, okay,
Yep.
He's like, imagine how bewildering that is. You have no idea who you are. But this one cheerful yet sinister gangster is hell-bent on making you work on buses. Like, he spent his own money to spring you out of jail to make you work on buses for him.
This is the only life.
What's
he knows.
happening?
Yeah, this could have been it. Reyes shows up, and probably the most amazing scene happens, which is Doggett like, hey Reyes, I guess you're my partner. I have a son, right? I'm super excited about my son. And then we get to watch
right?
Doggett.
And she's like,
yeah, what's his name?
Yeah.
And then she gives him this look that can only be described as a "your son is dead" look. And we get to watch. What's that?
Go ahead and finish, because then I want to say something.
We get to watch John Doggett relearn that his son is dead.
He gets to relive the experience of the abduction and brutal murder of his son.
Yeah. Incredible thing. They're like, how can we torture Doggett some more? We already killed his son. What if we erased his memory and had him experience his son dying again?
Now,
I can't fucking believe this.
I wanted to just to stop real quick and clarify. It is a wonderfully acted scene. Like, this is the kind of scene, like we talked many episodes ago, but we've mentioned a few times throughout this series about how there's been a few episodes where Duchovny and Anderson both were really asking for something that, like, Beyond the Sea for Gillian Anderson, and I forget which one it was for Mulder.
Something to work with.
Like,
Mulder's had a few.
He's had a few, like, where they get to do something emotional, do something that's shows off what they can do. This is a challenge as an actor, and this is a big dramatic challenge. Okay, we need to see you experience, like, relive the death of your son in 30 seconds, and it has to be almost entirely on your face.
Yeah, Robert Patrick is somewhat underrated.
He is somewhat underrated. He's actually quite a good actor.
Remember him in fucking Peacemaker?
He's great in Peacemaker, and it's 20 years after this.
Yeah.
He's great as the T-1000. He's an all-time fucking villain as the T-1000.
Yeah, I think T-1000 what did it, right? Where they're like, ooh, unemotional, scary guy, and that's what you'll be. I don't know. But it's a wonderfully acted scene, which only makes it funnier. Exactly. It's a wonderfully acted scene that I'm cackling.
The level of anguish they are meeting upon this man. For the 3rd time that he's been in the X-Files.
if I got that Last Action Hero ticket, John Doggett would never stop beating me up when I told him how delighted I was by his misery.
By his life.
Because,
yeah.
like,
I love you as a character.
Yeah, you're so funny how your son died. Because that's what it is. It's like, it's not just that Doggett goes through so many abuses. It's that it's like the writers are figuring out the most creative ways to hurt him. And this is by far one of the best. Is just watching John Doggett relearn that his son was murdered by a demon. And he has to learn this in a garage that he's been working with. And then, as like a little punctuation, he's immediately tear gassed. He's tear gassed by the corrupt Mexican police.
He sure is. Who come
like
in and whoop everyone's ass.
Yeah. The only thing that could have been made it better is if that tear gas hit him square in the nuts. That's like the only thing they could have added to this. I couldn't believe this. Him just going like, "Oh my God, my son!" And
then he gets tear gassed. It's like they sat around. Okay, what's the worst thing we could do to Doggett? Well, we could. Yeah, we can't. Like we killed his son already. What if we killed him again?
Yeah, it's so fucking funny.
No.
And again, no one gives a shit about his pain. To the point that this ends with him confronting the memory vampire, and the memory vampire is like, I've been up in those memories, man. Are you okay?
What he's
like the memory vampire is basically like, listen, do you even want these memories? They suck.
He's like, I'm not even sure why you wanted these back.
Right. Memory vampire should be like, did you get drowned? How many times have you died? How many
times have you died?
Yeah, because apparently the memory vampire, like implied by the name, he gets the memories.
He does. He feeds upon them. Yeah.
Right. Which I'm honestly like, you'd think the moment he ate Doggett's memories, he would like leave for a minute and come back and be like, okay, hold on. You're in what? The X-Files? What is this? What is all of this?
He was
he'd have so many questions.
He's shitting razor blades after drinking Doggett's memories.
Yeah, he'd be like, bat people exist? The fuck is this? Should I be worried about the super soldiers?
They seem very... mine, the bat person?
Right. It's like, is the world gonna end? Because it seems like there's super soldiers that are gonna take over the world.
Huh? I thought being a vampire, I thought I knew how the world worked. Aliens too? Ghosts, huh?
You'd think he'd turn around and be like, can I help? Like, is there any way I can
He would
help?
Switch sides, right? He's like, fucking demons are real?
Right. Like, I think you guys need me, and I think I need you, because this is bad. This is very bad. Your life is awful, man. Like, and that's what he does. He basically, at the end, is like, hey, man, your life sucks. Are you sure you even want these memories? And John Doggett, his only victory is him being like, yes, it sucks, but it's my life. And, like, that's the lowest point. Being like, you know what? But they're my shitty memories.
Well, it's the thing that, it's the bit of good writing that shines. It's like clearly the idea that Vince Gilligan had where he regains his memory because he clings to his trauma. That's what brings his memory back. And it's like, well, why would you want this pain? He says, because it's mine. And it's like, I get the philosophical point being made there. It's just very funny to make this point in this episode.
Yeah, when you've had Doggett's, I don't even just mean the sun makes sense, and that's what they're talking about.
Just Doggett getting his ass whipped, and he's like, "Why do you want to remember getting drowned by a Batman? Because it's my memory."
I feel like I could lose a montage.
That one.
Yeah, montage of all the things that's happened to him. And he's like, "They're my memories."
You've experienced the pain of death 3 times.
Yeah, he was like, and I loved it.
Mm-hmm. It gets a little less terrifying each time.
Yeah, it's the only escape I have. Really,
he becomes a flatliner.
Yeah,
he just becomes addicted to it.
Becoming a flatliner. Holy shit! I want that.
Oh, Doggett fucking edging life.
It's the only escape he gets. Poor Doggett. Yeah, that's what I got. And he really didn't need this fucking.
He didn't deserve this. He didn't deserve any of this.
Add it to the pile. Yep. Memory vampire in Mexico.
Shit, I couldn't believe this.
Perfect idea.
Oh man.
Should we talk about fireable offenses?
Yeah.
I would say, listen, in the end, when the smoke settles,
Smoke settles.
And the smoke settles. She's probably, it's understandable, but Reyes leaves to Mexico to get in a gunfight with the Mexican police after her boss specifically told her not to. That's pretty bad. Like, even in the end, when they're going to be like, we found Doggett, both Reyes and Skinner secretly go to Mexico to get into a fight with the Mexican police.
Right, that's an international incident.
Yes, they are FBI agents. I don't think you can do this. Even they'll be like, but they're corrupt. It's like,
No, I think that's still you're still invading another country, and
yes,
it's an act
the
of
FBI
war. I think
invaded
maybe
Mexico. Yeah, it might be the only saving grace is that Skinner shows up with Mexican authorities. But like, I feel like they wrote that in to make sure. I think that's the only thing is I think Skinner, when he went to Mexico, he was smart enough to immediately go to like their authorities and explain it and then work with them. Reyes is just going rogue in Mexico, literally she shoots at the Mexican police. She's shooting at the police in this. And again, yes, they're corrupt. They're still the police.
They're still the police.
Yeah. Again, international incident, 100%.
Yeah. That's a pretty big one. Pretty big fireable offense.
Yeah.
They invaded Mexico, Dave. They invaded Mexico.
Again, even if they settled this with the Mexican government, I think part of settling it would be firing Reyes and Skinner. Maybe not Skinner, but Reyes, again, she's in a gunfight. She gets tear gassed by the Mexican police, throws the tear gas back, and fires her gun at them. It's not great. It's not great. That's all I have for fireable offenses.
Yeah, other
than getting memory vampired, like we've said this with a few episodes, you'd think they'd give Doggett like a month off. You know,
he needs some time.
He's back
just
at it
let
next week.
him go home and watch NASCAR, for the love of Christ.
Seriously, he just wants to watch.
Let that man
NASCAR.
have a beer and watch his races, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. Name the enabler.
Skinner, I guess. Sort of.
It's hard. I guess that trafficker is very helpful.
Right, the cheerful gangster is really honestly, the memory vampire is really enabling all of this.
It's weird.
For reasons indecipherable motives that vampire possesses.
It's weird to say you're enabling him by not burying him in Mexico, but that is...
You kind of are.
Like,
tough love. Bury him in the fucking desert.
Right, I can't stress it enough. The cartel has no use for a memory vampire. Because it's like, I could erase his memory.
Not
and
if this is how they're using him.
Right, they're like, you know what else erases memories? A bullet. You know, like...
Right, the point to erasing somebody like Doggett's memory is to erase his memory of the crime and then send him back to the FBI so that the investigation goes away.
Exactly. But
You're
since they
doing
leave him,
memory vampire wrong.
They really are. They really are. Like that would have made more sense if he woke up on the border with no memory. And then they were like, had to figure it out.
The whole Desaparecidos thing, it's like, this thing happens without vampires.
Right.
So like the thing that's hard to do is to take the memory away and then reinsert these people back into wherever their lives.
Like he wiped his memory and then just left him in the same place.
And then let him just work on a bus?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
What are you doing, you idiots? Jesus. All right. Crazy like a fox.
Oh, man. This is the part of the episode where we assign an America rating from 1 to 10 to grade the behavior of Agent Fox Mulder. 1 being cool, calm, collected, professional, a representative of the federal government. 10 being the complete opposite of all of those things. That being hijacking a gondola, strangling a man who then dies seconds later in your custody. Firing a gun into a crowd of Vietnam veterans screaming about an invisible man. Those are all 10s.
So this didn't have much Scully, as evidenced by the fact that we didn't bring her up. She is in it briefly, I think.
Very briefly. She doesn't do much.
So we have Reyes and Doggett. I honestly... so there's something to be said about getting in a gunfight with the Mexican police, but the context matters, right? They're kind of going to kill them. So this is all to say it feels low, which, you know, these things happen. We have low.
Right. Honestly, the nuttiness is more on the side of the vampire and the cart. Like, what is their plan here?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give the Mexican cartel a 10.
A 10. The Mexican cartel, a 10.
Yeah, but Reyes, I would say, I don't know, a 3? A 4, maybe?
I'd give her a 3 because we saw sort of... I'd give her a 3 because we saw a 4 because she does sort of start calling somebody a human trafficker and a murderer right in front of their lawyer.
Right.
I'm fine with a 4.
Does Doggett get anything?
I don't think he can, really.
No. So Reyes gets a 4. Yeah, it's memory vampire. Mexican cartel gets a 10. I'll lock that down on our big list.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, indeed. Well, shit on us. That's an episode.
Shit upon us.
Shit upon us.
Tis
That's
the
an episode.
Season. You little shitters.
Yeah, you little fucking shitters. Have a great holiday.
Damn shitters. Have a great holiday.
And listen, if you're interested, there's more episodes on this on our Patreon, patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We also have other exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman. We also have Star Trek The Next Futurama and Spiel Boys. Check all those out. Gamefully Unemployed. We watch movies every Friday night with our patrons as well. Bunch of goodies on there. Check it out.
Yeah. Exclusive podcasts, custom podcasts, all that good stuff. We also have a store. Head over to gamefullyunemployed.com. GamefullyUnemployed.com. You can find a link to our Teespring store. We have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs you can get on t-shirts, mugs, stickers, posters, all kinds of things. So slap your little peepers onto that. And we'll see you in
the new year with Hellbound.
We'll see you in the
next
new year.
Episode Hellbound.
The new year, new Mulder.
Yeah. New year, new Mulder. I bet he says that every year to himself.
It's not.
He gets a.
Go ahead.
He gets like some new Oakleys, and he's like, "It's a new Mulder
this year." New Mulder.
Yeah.
This year I'm going to be a rollerblade guy.
Yeah. Yeah, he's stressing the office. Scully laughs at him. He throws away his rollerblades.
Immediately throws them away.
It was a joke anyway.
Before lunch, they're in the trash.
Absolutely. Poor Mulder. Artwork for Fox Mulder as a Maniac is produced by Starlene Hodge. Follow her on Twitter at StarleneX, that's Starlene with an X, or check out her delightful webcomic at rubywhipple.com.